Good day, everybody. My name is Siraj. I'd like to introduce you to Jacqueline from Autoscriber. She is the co-founder and CEO of Autoscriber. She's an ex-data science team leader at Cape AI. She has a PhD in industrial engineering from Stellenbosch University, natural language processing, machine learning, decision support, and a bachelor in engineering in industrial engineering from the Stellenbosch University. Welcome, Jacqueline. How are you?
Great, thanks, and you. Thanks for having me.
Great. So this is quite an exciting platform, I think, for a South African based organization to have international expansion opportunities so early on is quite unique. And I think for the audience, I think they're going to be quite surprised at what you already achieved in such a short time. So maybe you want to just tell us a little bit about what is an Autoscriber?
Sure, yeah. So maybe easiest to start with the problem that we're trying to solve. So we are present in the medical space. And basically the problem prevailing nowadays is that medical specialists of all different kinds spend between 20 to 50%, some conservative estimates, of their time on administration. So that means filling out documentation forms of patients and getting all of their documents in order. And this obviously is quite a significant chunk of their time. So the result of this is that healthcare costs are increasing because there are fewer patients that doctors can see in a certain sitting. There's been a link between physicians' administration time and occurrences of burnout and all the associated frustrations with that. This also leads to the fact that many physicians opt to not fill in the documentation at all, or just fill in a couple of words here and there and not actually fill it in detail. And it also leads to disconnect between a doctor and a patient, because now the doctor is more focused on filling in all of the different screens on their computer than actually talking to the patient. And so we decided to tackle this problem using automation. So that's where the name comes in, Autoscriber. So the student or apprentice that sometimes sits in the back of the doctor's room and takes notes is called a scribe. And we are basically automating the process of scribing. And so that's why we're called Autoscriber. So maybe if you head on to the next slide, that's described a little bit better. So we automate the process of note-taking and basically put it in the background of the consultation. So what we do is we record the whole conversation between the doctor and a patient, and we then process that conversation using our models, which are natural language processing, speech recognition, and machine learning models. And we then automate the process of filling out this documentation so that the doctor has more time for other way more important things, and then for actually connecting with the patient. So
I just want to give context for the listener, the audience, that this is actually the during the diagnosis process, the conversation that the doctor's having with the patient, and that natural conversation, back and forth, question, answer, is what's being recorded, as opposed to just a few notes that the doctor would say, so cough, sore throat, that you would jot down, but the actual full conversation is actually being recorded as a record. Is that the correct understanding?
Yes, exactly. So we take the entire conversation between the doctor and the patient, and we base our whole analysis on that. So that means that we don't have this additional step that the doctor needs to dictate notes into the documentation. And it also gives us a nice additional opportunity that we can actually share this recording with the patient themselves. So one of the other issues that we've seen is that patients are starting more and more to record their own conversations with doctors, because they don't typically take in as much information as they'd like during the consultation. And it's a nice way for them to share what happened with their loved ones at home that might also be making medical decisions together with them.
Sure.
To be able to have access to this.
And do you, so this process, it obviously has confidentiality and privacy aspects to it. How do you secure your conversations per assessment or event?
Yeah, so the patient is always asked beforehand if they consent to the recording, and they consent to the whole process being taken place. Yeah, and our data is secured in the cloud, so we don't just send it out. It's all stored in secured and improved environments that are all GDPR compliant.
Great. Okay. And then, yeah, so you want to just talk about some of the perceived advantages around your future tech?
Yeah, so one of our main benefits is, of course, the time saving that we aim to achieve. So we spoke earlier about 20 to 50% of a doctor's time being spent on admin, and we aim to reduce that by at least 20%. And our business model is set up in such a way that this results in a net saving for the doctor or for the client. So we always aim to charge less than what we're saving in terms of time and cost. And some of the additional peripheral benefits for this are also that there's a greater patient focus. So the doctor can actually spend more time focusing on the patient and building a relationship with the patient, and is not caught up in administration. Yeah. As I mentioned, this replay function for patients is quite important, that they actually have the ability to access the recording. We hope by reducing the number of hours that doctors have to spend on tasks that they don't like and that don't add value for them career-wise, that we can improve job satisfaction for the actual healthcare workers. Mm-hmm. And then, yeah, in the way that we record and process the data, we actually are able to create very structured and consistent repositories of every doctor-patient interaction, which means at the end of the process, we have very structured and unbiased accounts of everything that happened. And we, in this step, also link all of the information we extract to standard medical ontologies. Yeah. So, for example, a patient could say, my head is sore, another would complain of a headache, and another would say pain in the head. And all of this we link to the standard medical terminology for headache, which is all identified with different codes. So this allows us to build up a structured database of patient interactions. And there's a wealth of opportunity going from there. What we can do, we can help doctors with real-time decision support in the future. So that's something we're looking into. And trend analysis across patients or within a patient's history is also possible. So all of this, really has a lot of opportunity for future growth.
So you're saying the conversation will allow you to, that's been stored, would be allowed for data analysis in terms of, because normally free text you can't analyze because it's just free text, but with your platform, it's almost like it's all structured data. Basically, you would be able to identify certain things around disease types, treatment suggestions, etc. Is that correct?
Yeah. So we don't just generate a summary in the traditional sense, but we actually extract all of the relevant clinical information. So given a conversation between a doctor and a patient, we'll extract all of the symptoms that were mentioned along with their properties that describe them further, and medications, treatment plans, etc. So we have all of this in a very neat and structured format that we can actually analyze.
That can be obviously very powerful in terms of, are you going to be using that for predictive modeling as well, in terms of patients' likelihood for, complications further down the line as well?
Yeah, for example, so there's a lot of assistance that we can give the doctor then. So if we hear a bunch of different symptoms being mentioned, we can make suggestions of, other patients that mentioned all of these symptoms seem to be prone to this diagnosis. and this is the treatment that worked, this is the treatment that didn't work. So once we have a bit of data built up, there's a lot we can do there.
Cool. And then, so obviously you are on a journey. How many years have you been working on this, and where are you now?
So the project started around 3 years ago with the hospital that we're currently working with. So Leiden University Medical Center, they actually initiated the project. Was initiated by a physician of internal medicine who was really fed up with the administrative process. And we joined them on this journey about a year ago. And so we basically took where they were in the project now and added our AI and machine learning expertise to the mix, and are now taking this project further.
Sure. So you mentioned that you're going to be starting off in Amsterdam.
Yes. Yeah. So we starting off focusing on the Dutch language. That's also where our pilot partner is currently sitting in Leiden. And yeah, we're starting out with that. So we're hoping now to conclude our pilot implementation and to make some final refinements to the model during the course of this year, in order to have a deployable product ready towards the end of this year. And then, yeah, as I mentioned, we're beginning to start expanding into the Netherlands then in 2022. And while we're doing this expansion, to also look into which other markets look viable to tackle next.
So the obvious question is, can you deal with all medical terminology? And what about English? Because obviously a lot of medical terminology is in English.
Yes. So we're focusing initially on Dutch, but our entire pipeline is suitable for any language, so we can adapt it. The only thing we need is sort of an adaptation period where we collect a little bit more data on a different language, in order to then recreate the pipeline for a different language.
Okay. All right. And then, so you are looking for investors at the moment?
Yeah, so we're currently looking for our first round of investment. So we've been completely bootstrapped until now, but we really want to get some speed and grow the team and get everything up and running a little more quickly. So we're looking for some seed funding at the moment.
Some seed funding, okay. And would you say that the investors that you're looking for are looking at you're looking for healthcare investors, or are you purely looking for angel investors? What type of investor are you looking for? VC, etc.
Yeah, we've been primarily speaking to VCs at the moment. I think that we're a good candidate for earlier stage VCs. Yeah. So looking a little bit more at seed funding. I think it's always nice to have someone that's a bit more healthcare focused, but actually our product is generic enough to be suitable for general purpose investors or general purpose funds as well. We're not really very deep tech into the medical space, so we're really more focused on the administration process. So I think from that perspective, we're still quite suited for general purpose.
And would you say that South Africa, in terms of the competitive landscape, that there's anybody like you, or are you pretty unique from a South African perspective? And then obviously compare yourself internationally.
Yeah, from a South African perspective, I'd say we're definitely unique. We haven't encountered a lot of competitors in general. I think it's still quite a new field, because the techniques and algorithms that we use have also only just gotten to the point where they're viable for this. So I think if we tried something similar 5 or 10 years ago, we would have had quite a different challenge technically. Sure. So I think it's up and coming now. So I think we're really just at the right time to catch the trend on the app.
And then finally, in terms of integration processes, so is your future partners telemedicine partners, EHR partners in hospital? Who are you looking at partnering preferably?
So we have actually 3 different distribution channels for our solution. And the first is the completely integrated model from speech into the EHR, so the electronic health record. And so for that, we're looking at larger hospitals. And for that, we're also looking to partner with the actual providers of the EHRs. Mm-hmm. We also offer a standalone solution, which means you can just grab a laptop and run our web app, which doesn't require you to have integration with an EHR. So that would be more suitable for your GPs and dentists and smaller practices. And then we also have an offering that just allows data science units, for example, that work at a hospital or at a practice or any other medical startup to use our APIs. So, for example, to use our speech-to-text engine or our text-to-entities engine in their own pipelines. So those are the 3 distribution models we run. Okay.
Look, honestly, I mentioned this to one of our other interviewees, Marius Goodwin, about the solution in the Discovery channel, and it was a natural opportunity that GPs needed this type of solution, and I think you guys are onto a huge opportunity. I think it's just about whether or not the market can integrate, as fast as you guys are hoping to implement, because in South Africa, it's still early days with regards to electronic health records and the compliance aspect or the compulsory aspect of it. So I think, little handwritten notes is still probably legal and sufficient for any medical legal claim. But I'm sure in other territories, this type of solution would be compulsory.
Yeah, indeed. So I think in the States and in Europe, it's currently a requirement that they use electronic health records. And I think in that space, our solution has more of an impact than it would if the practice isn't already digital. But yeah, we're definitely keeping an eye on the South African market once everything comes around here as well.
So somebody from Metropolitan, Momentum, Discovery, Netcare, Mediclinic approaches you, you'd look at those type of partnerships as well?
Yeah, definitely. So we're open for anywhere where the market is available and viable. Yeah.
All right. And then in terms of telemedicine and the type of Zoom call, will that also be possible, that a Zoom call conversation can be recorded and transcribed per actor?
Yeah, indeed. That's actually a lot easier for our solution to handle because we already know who's saying what. So it's we can skip a step there.
Okay, cool. From my side, I think it's a great opportunity and I wish you all the best of luck, you and your team. I think you guys are onto a huge opportunity and hopefully you get to do an English version, which I think from a South African perspective would be really well received. Maybe it will require somebody to actually, pursue it as a client, because I think, be it from an investor perspective, obviously having a contract, having traction is what they would be looking at. So for somebody to look at you as an early stage opportunity, but saying that we want to be able to give you the funds to be able to create a version for us that's localized potentially. I think that would be a great opportunity, because then you have both Africa as a stepping stone territory and the European expansion opportunity at the same time. But well, I wish you all the best of luck and to your team, and I'm sure we'll be seeing all your updates through your LinkedIn channel and your website as you guys make announcements as well, be it landing your first round investments as well. So I'd just like to thank you for your time, Jacqueline. It was really nice to meet you and get to know Autoscriber.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks for having me. And yeah, really interesting to have a look at all of the other medical innovations through your channel. So yeah, thanks for letting us be a part of it.
Thank you. Bye.
Cool. Cheers.